Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We've got some live action. When I told you earlier, Never Clucky versus Luckerdogs wasn't going to be next, I was just lying. We're live here. It's game number 3 of the night. Game number 2 ended in the most anticlimactic way possible, but now we're going to have some level 1 action. Better Call Saul and the rest of the Luckerdogs going to be able to find Nerb, and the damage comes out like a ballistic missile. He's brought down immediately. Better Call Saul able to get himself away. First blood goes over to Kuja Booja, as now the rest of the Luckerdogs are looking for even more violence. The charm lands onto Reiju, and it's going to be a quick 2-0 for Luckerdogs.
That's a heck of a way to start a game. Way to be on the top right off the get-go. 2-0, starting the game with a 1K gold lead. That's gotta feel good.
That could not have gone better for Luckerdogs coming out of the gate. We just missed the pick and ban phase before we were able to get into this game, but luckily we did catch the level 1. I would have hated to miss that one in one of the few Premier League games I've seen in recent memory that has such an explosive and successful level 1 fight. Once again, I'm Captain Flowers here with Fury Golem, and this is game number 3.
And these seem to be about the picks and bans you'd expect for the junglers at this point in the meta. So many of the others are being banned out. We haven't seen as much Lee Sin as I would have expected to see given his incredible popularity in solo queue. But it is the old standby of Elise and Rek'Sai. Up in top lane, we do have a bit of a more of a competitive and less tanky matchup than we've seen in the recent past with a Renekton versus a Gnar. Going back a little bit to the Season 4, Season 5 style champions, see if they can get off that decent damage and poke against each other.
Nerb's working with a 0-1. Meanwhile, Kuja Booja, a very fun name to say, I might add, working with a 1-0. Renekton going to be even more of a lane bully than usual with that under his belt.
Oh, for sure. Gnar does have that range advantage, but when Renekton goes in, he goes in hard, and there's no way to stop that. Meanwhile, down in the bot lane, Akonda on MF, make it rain with Thunderlords. It's just the most oppressive thing in the world.
Reiju knocked up into the air. The tornado connects. Talisman taken low as Akonda has that shield and looks to pursue this one even further. Reiju does not have thick skin to get himself out of trouble. Talisman will pop the heal as now Reiju looks to find the Devourer onto Sala. Will not be able to go for that one. Make it rain lands one more time. Akonda now looking to continue this damage. Reiju takes a big old bite out of Better Call Sala, and this might be a kill. It will be a kill. Talisman with the flash forward, and that is an even up game 2-2. But now reinforcements have come in for both sides. Surfon ends up accidentally suiciding himself. A double kill for Talisman. Meanwhile, topside Kuja Booja going deep onto High I'm Nerb, only in time to see Kabloomy here to sign his death warrant. The Gator flashes away, but Nerb is in hot pursuit. One more hit's going to be able to do it. Can he find that auto? Yes, he can. And all of a sudden, the game is 4-2, Never Clucky.
Luckerdogs, you had such a strong advantage, but wow, the gold lead has shifted in the other direction. 1K into the lead to 1K behind. Never Clucky looking very, very good in the laning phase.
A very well-played fight in the bot lane leads to a very well-timed gank in the top lane, and Never Clucky couldn't be happier about this. They were down 1,000 gold. The level 1 went terribly for them, and then they just come back and say, all right, we'll take 4 kills anyway. Imagine if you're Luckerdogs and you didn't get that level 1 now. You'd be sitting on a 4-0.
I think we've doubled the kills that we saw at the 15-minute mark in the last game already. That is an abrupt reversal. This game is going much, much faster. I thought Reiju was going a little deep there when he went in and put some poke down on Better Call Saul, and in the middle, Shapanga in trouble.
Kabloomy once again making his presence known here in the lanes. Let my sup go, follows it up, and that's going to be the 5th kill of the game, going over to Never Clucky. The power of this Rek'Sai showing up early. Really great to see this level of early aggression coming out from junglers who are designed for it.
It's just a stomp in lane. Oh, almost the snare, but not quite. Surfon manages to get out of the way, and he is going to survive this, but he's forced out of his own jungle.
Forced out of his own jungle at the cost of his flash, no less. He's definitely not in a good place on an early jungler in his own right. He has 2 assists, but those are both from those 2 kills in the level 1. Other than that, he hasn't been able to find any success. Had a very hard time in the bottom lane when he got caught out and just ended up giving away a free kill. And now he's got to find a way to get back into this game, stop the tilt mobile, and start contributing to what his team's trying to do in the lanes.
Lately, Renekton has been this uncontested beast in the top lane because of the choices that are available and the unanswerability of his combo where he goes in, stuns, Qs, and gets out. But Gnar is an excellent pick against him. This champion has the range, has the escapes, has the ability to punish this melee range bruiser over and over again, and we're looking at a bit of a CS lead for Nairb, as well as that kill that he grabbed with the jungle gank.
It's a 1,500 gold lead for Never Clucky here, only 6 minutes into the game. Everybody had really high hopes for them coming into Premier League. They made an incredible showing last season in Minor League. Reiju taking some damage now. Akanda putting down some more pain into Talisman. Here comes the bite, though. Better Call Saul taking a lot of damage from that Devour, but the exhaust down onto Talisman could be a very well-lost fight. There comes the Spider Bite. Surfon's able to find one kill, but the teleport in from Nairb means that this might be turned around. Akanda unleashes bullet after bullet into his opponent, but Kabloomy is here as well. It's a 3v3. It's a big old Tom Kench Devour, and that is going to be one dead Akanda. If they can find the extra hits, they will be able to do it. Let My Sub Go decides to show up as well. Nairb going very, very deep. Here comes the Lux Laser. Here comes the damage. Here comes Kabloomy. 7-3, Never Clucky.
A fight that looked very bad for Never Clucky off the start is turned around by the roams and the teleports. That is some excellent team coordination to get everyone down there to turn what was a losing fight into a winning one. That said, it does allow Kujabuja and his most excellent name to stay in the top lane and farm up, get himself back some of what he had fallen behind from against Nairb. That is very, very rough for Nairb. He had gotten himself ahead. He's going to have a little bit more difficulty dealing with that guy now, but he does have the Phage, which is a very important pickup against Renekton.
Still less than a 1,500 gold game. Never Clucky might be up 7-3, but they aren't actually able to find anything off the back of all these early kills. There's no turrets, there's no dragons going their way, so it's really just a pretty small advantage that they're eking out for themselves by making these plays over and over again, despite the very solid level of team play that they're demonstrating.
Yeah, their coordination is excellent, but they are going to have to step up their ability to take objectives afterwards. They've been coming out ahead, but just barely ahead, with not enough left over to get anything that they really need.
Kujabuja, and I can't believe I'm saying this, kind of playing on his back foot here in the top side on this Renekton, able to grab some damage onto Nairb, force him to take a couple turret shots as well. That'll even up that lane momentum for him slightly. He is Renekton, he is level 6, but these rocks from Nairb hurt a whole lot. He is not able to find the stun into the wall, and he's forced to flash away. Kujabuja pops the ultimate, trying to find the aggro, but he won't be able to do it. A good flash from Nairb keeps him safe, and now Gnar is just going to continue harassing and dominating this lane.
And with the Renekton ult down, it gives Gnar a pretty dramatic advantage, especially if he gets a gank. There's always that threat when you're ganking a Renekton of him using that extra ability of his ult to turn it around and get kills for himself. Now that threat isn't there for a little while, and for sure, Kabloomy has to pay attention to that lane. Nairb going to back for now, however.
Nairb going to go ahead and get himself out, acquire a little bit more itemization, and then come back into lane even stronger. Talisman taking so much damage here in this bottom lane. Tom Kench is a support who's able to save you from the enemy kill attempt. He's able to get you away from trouble. Kabloomy here in the mid lane going deep on to Spanga, but Surfon is here as well. It's a full-on 2v2 with mid laners and junglers. The Spider's taking low. Kabloomy trying to be able to find that knockup, but Surfon gets himself safely away. Meanwhile, Lux is able to find the kill. It's a 1-for-1. Both junglers go down. The 2v2 action is explosive here in the mid lane as Talisman and Reiju look to make another 2v2 happen in the bottom side, but that make it rain damage is all too much, and Talisman is forced away.
And in the mid lane, Chapanga picks up a red buff as well off of that, whereas Let My Sup Go only has the blue buff. It gives Chapanga that additional harass, particularly with Ahri's auto attack range being so significant.
Not only that, it's going to give him that extra HP generation as well. It's going to help him stay in the lane against this Lux poke. Akanda taking some more damage. Talisman able to find those auto attacks. Won't quite be able to set the charge off at full damage, but he gets close enough to make it hurt.
This is such a back and forth. Yes, we are seeing Never Clucky in a definite gold lead, but Chapanga is doing a pretty good job in this mid lane of bullying this Lux around. The Lux has some kills, but she's down 20 CS. Chapanga managing to make a lot of a lot of advantage for his team in that matchup. And the roam from an Ahri is so effective. If he can manage to make it down to bot lane and turn all of that harass that Akanda is managing to put down onto Talisman into an actual kill, that will be a really big thing for them.
I'm loving the amount of aggro coming out of both teams in this game. We talked in the game about Inquisitors versus Industrious, about the team's just passive playstyles and refusal to go for anything, and that is the exact opposite of what we're seeing this time around. Kabumi positioned up behind his opponents, but now the TP comes in. It's a full 5-man coming down from Luckerdogs as they find Kabumi and pick him off. This is definitely going to be a dragon play. The jungler's dead. You've got 5 guys here. You might as well go all the way.
Yeah, but it is Dragon, and in the current meta, it might be first Dragon, but even first Dragon just is not worth that much at this point in the game. And meanwhile, I'm Nerb is up top, pushing as hard as he possibly can. He's probably going to end up taking this turret before Kujabuja can answer. Kujabuja's teleport is down, and Nerb still has his. So the pressure in the bot lane is on the side of Neverclucky at this point.
Nerb will be able to find turret number 1 of the match, grab his team a little bit of extra global gold with that one as Talisman continues to find aggro onto Akanda, and Reiju eats him up and saves him from that bullet rain.
That Make It Rain is just so ridiculously hard to deal with. There's just not much a person can do. Akanda puts down the ult, clears out the way, puts some damage down on Talisman in preparation for a back, I imagine, with his lack of mana. But even so, it's MF. But the Tristana, that late game champion, is keeping up in CS against her opponent despite the harass coming out, which is going to be very, very good for Neverclucky if they do make it to that late game, get a 3 or 4 item Tristana.
8-5 now, the overall team score, and still a 1,500 gold advantage for Neverclucky's squad. And that's actually not very much. 2,500 gold, excuse me, miscounted that one a little bit. The turret accounting for that extra 1,000 or so that's been added onto that. These guys do have a nice little lead for themselves, but there's nothing that they can be running away with quite yet. Their opponents still have the dragon. They're not that far behind. And as we saw with their collapse onto Kabloomy, they've got not only the pick potential, but the coordination to make it work.
And over, really, the big thing is, the later this game goes, the more advantages Neverclucky has, but oh, Nerb stepping right into it.
Nerb falls into the spider's trap, but Kabloomy is here to keep his ally safe. Let my sub go, also making the rotation. Kabloomy's able to find the knockup, but not any follow-up. The flash away from Renekton and make sure he gets away from that one. Nerb continuing to throw out those boomerangs. He's close to Meganar, but not close enough just yet. Needs a little bit more fury to be able to go in all the way. Stunned up and brought down before he can find it. Now Kabloomy and Let My Sub Go have to be in full retreat. A little bit of over-aggression comes out from Nerb. You could see what he wanted to do. He went over the wall, wanted the one auto attack, and then immediately slam everybody into the wall, but he's charmed up and brought down before he's able to do it.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate, overly cocky move by Nerb. He thought he was going to get that red bar, and he just didn't quite. The stun lockdown from both Elise and Ahri, the ability of the cocoon and the charm to stack and hold you in place, is so brutal. If they know which direction you're coming from, it's not hard for them to land those abilities.
Akanda continuing to just run and gun his way through this bottom lane. He has a very slight CS lead over Talisman, but for the most part, they're even. Spang is down here in the bot side, and that's going to be one dead Talisman real quick. Tom Kench not able to save him in time. Nerb is down here as well. Better Call Saul able to find the flash forward and the knockback with the ultimate. Let My Sub Go. Tries to TP in and make a difference, but all he finds is a death. That's going to be an even game now as Luckerdogs tie it up 8-8 and are now looking to push down bottom lane turret.
Neverclucky did a really good job there of making a lot of plays for themselves right off, but they got a little overconfident and they've been out-rotated several times now. And now there is the kill lead and the gold lead for the Luckerdogs. Once they take this turret, it will be even more.
Both of Neverclucky's solo laners just teleported bottom only to die. Not only are you dead, you literally paid for it.
It's a hard thing to teleport in and die, because now we have Kujabuja, who had been falling behind previously, now with a level advantage over his opponent. He gets to take down that turret. That's 2 turrets gained for Luckerdogs off of that play. Neverclucky now finding themselves in a hole. They were well positioned to take their good late game team to the late game, but now the Luckerdogs are ahead, and I don't imagine they'll let that stand. They are going to keep pushing for more. They have a mid-game team. They need to use the mid-game team. Hopefully they can manage it.
We can see the very offensive approach coming out from Surfon's Elise. He's gone with the Skirmisher's Saber into the Runeglaive enhancement. A lot of times you'll see Elises, if they want to be more defensive, more team-oriented, more just set up the plays with the Cocoon, they'll go with Stalker's Blade into a Cinderhulk, but not on this guy. He wants to do the damage, be the threat, and make it so his opponents have to answer him immediately. Meanwhile, a much more standard build coming out from Rek'Sai Kabloomy, going for the extra warding power on that new jungle item, as well as the Cinderhulk to make him more tanky to start these fights off.
And they need it. They need more frontliners to enable the hard engage that is available to them with Nerb on Gnar. However, here is the Rift Herald being taken down by the Luckerdogs. Clucky not able to contest this, and that is yet another objective gone away from them and less early game pressure that they are able to exert.
Rift Herald buff plus the strut. That is one very fast MF strutting her way into the mid lane, looking to take down this next turret and grab their team yet another objective to strengthen that gold lead.
Yeah, 472 movement speed is not bad at all, and it's going to make that MF very hard to catch unless they can get a lot of lockdown on her. Ooh, close
almost
with the snare.
the binding.
Yep. It would have been a really effective play. Lux does have her ult up. If they had managed to get the snare down on Anaconda, they really have to watch out for that. If Let My Support Go manages to nail one person to the ground, they can almost for certain 100-0 that guy.
Nerb looking for even more damage onto Kuja Buja. He wants to make this fight happen. He's proccing hyper after hyper. One more hit's going to bring down Kuja, and Nerb solos him and evens up the kills.
For sure, Kuja Buja needs to be aware that even though there have been a lot of advantages grabbed for him, in a straight one-up fight, the Gnar still has the advantage. That champion is made for dueling those slow bruisers and taking down their health.
Never Clucky now looking to push up, create a little bit of aggression of their own. Kuja Buja dead for another 8 seconds, but he does have teleport when he revives. MF ult used just to clear away the waves, but Surfon about to be caught out. He goes up, but he's got nowhere to come down except into the jaws of certain death. Talisman takes the credit for that one, has now let my sub go, able to find the binding. Here comes the laser, not bringing him down immediately, and here comes the retaliation. Anaconda unstoppable. Tahm Kench dead. Spango looking for more. Double kill Anaconda. Kabloomy may drop as well, and Luckerdogs turn it around.
Never Clucky takes a little bit, and Luckerdogs take a whole lot back. They are going to take this mid turret off that and open the lead to 3 turrets to 1, as well as a 3k gold lead over their opponents. That was a nice catch, but Surfon managed to put a lot of damage down onto Talisman before he went out, and that left him in a position where he could not help the mid lane, and the Janna ult from Better Call Saul has just barely enough healing to save him from Let My Sup Go's combo, just by the most tiny minute amount.
Dragon number 2 will go over to the Luckerdogs as well, as now they've taken what was an early lead, thrown it over to Never Clucky, taken it back, and are now once again in command of the game.
This game is just all over the place. I guess our first game was that slow measured, our second game was a wait fest, and now we have a much more aggressive style. We're getting it all today.
These are the kinds of games that I have a lot of fun watching and casting, the kinds of back and forth bloodbaths. This game already has more kills at the 18-minute mark than we saw in the Inquisitors versus Industrious game at the 39-minute mark. Not saying that's a good thing, not saying it's a bad thing, but from a spectator sport perspective, it makes things a whole lot more interesting.
For sure, and there's a whole lot of pressure hovering around this mid game. They keep fighting there. First it was bot lane, but then the Luckerdogs took that turret. They moved their attention to the mid lane. They've done a very good job of rotating so that when they win fights, they can take objectives off of it. And that's where they're showing their dominance over the Never Clucky team, is that ability to know where the objectives are. They're only up in kills by a single kill. However, all of those times, they're up 2 dragons and up 2 turrets. And that is, while the dragons are not as important as they used to be, still a very big deal.
3,000 gold, the tune of the lead for the Luckerdogs, and they are only up 1 kill, so you know that that gold advantage isn't just coming from kills. These guys are not only finding the plays, they're finding the plays that follow up the plays. They're translating the kills into objectives. They're up 3 turrets to 1, they're up 2 dragons to 0. They're playing the macro game, and it's starting to pull them ahead.
It really is. And they do need to do that, and they need to keep doing that, because if Never Clucky can keep themselves even or pull back in this game, like I said before, they do have that late game advantage. Every single champion on their team except Rek'Sai scales really well into the late game and is very, very good for those late game all or nothing fights. They have a lot of catch potential, they have a lot of team fight, and they have a really, really good late game AD carry in Tristana. Kench, we all know what he does late game. That guy is such a massive scaler off of health.
Kench gets absolutely crazy in terms of tank ability later on in the game. The Lux full combo will come out, but isn't going to do a whole lot to Sala, actually. He's able to walk away from that one relatively unscathed. And now we're getting to that lull in the action once again. We saw it in TQR versus Industrious. We're seeing it again now. Teams just not really being able to keep that gas pedal pressed down and continue with the action that was the standard earlier on in the game. Kujabuja will just be able to clear away these minions, but he's got to respect the damage coming out from Nairb. Black Cleaver Rush Gnar actually hurts a whole lot.
It really, really does. And when the thing you're building off of the back of that is Deadman's Plate, it puts you in a position to be such a beefy threat. Surfon does manage to smite away the blue buff, taking it from Never Clucky. Luckerdogs aren't going to be able to find anything off the back of that, though. That is all that they're going to get there.
It will help to have that off the Lux. She isn't going to have that unlimited source of poke, those extra cooldowns, as now Kujabuja looks to clear away the minions and fight Nairb under the turret that's now destroyed. The slam into the wall, though, and Nairb looks to turn it around right here. Kujabuja pops the ultimate. Nairb about to run out of Narbar, getting himself away, and Kujabuja presses the R for nothing.
Nairb gets the turret. This is the second game we've seen where top laners split bushing has been sort of the primary focus for the whole thing. There is a whole bunch of pressure going top lane now. These teams want this tier 2 turret, but even
Surf on a Talisman 1v1. Talisman takes him down, blows him up. An incredible amount of burst coming out from this Triz.
Yeah, and that's going to push Luckerdogs back off of this. They didn't really have a whole lot of pressure on these tier 2s to start with. These tier 2s, they don't have that shield anymore and have it for a while, but they're still pretty hard to take at this point in the game. Getting that deep into enemy territory is always risky, and more so when you're playing against this team that has so much lockdown and CC available to it.
We can see some wards being placed from Luckerdogs in the Never Clucky jungle, especially there in the upper side. These are the kind of steps they need to be taking. They're starting to look for the potential to pick these guys off in the middle of their rotations, and that's what they need to find. They need to find a way to make the play. If they're not comfortable with trying to siege up against their opponents, with trying to go for that 5-man push onto a turret or whatever, then they need to be looking for some sort of catch in the jungle. Make them rotate, and then stop them halfway through it. Kill somebody, and force the unfair fight.
Shapanga just sort of hanging out in the top side here. I'm not sure what he's hoping to catch. Can't imagine that anyone on Never Clucky would be foolish enough to step that far out of what they control. But maybe if he can get a catch on a Talisman, that would be a big deal for this team. Talisman, fortunately for himself, spots that and backs off.
11-11, score all tied up, 2,000 gold game. It's really anybody's game at this point to make the play. Despite the fact that Clucky's down 2K, it's whoever's actually able to find a decisive, proactive play that's going to determine the tempo for the rest of this game. Kujabuja forced to flash over the wall.
Yeah, but the onus of making a play is all on the Luckerdogs right now. They have to know that they don't scale as well. Kujabuja on Renekton, that champion has always been an early and mid-game dominating presence that falls off in the late game. He has a hard time getting in and not getting bursted down because he has to compromise between damage stats and tank stats. And as he goes farther into this game, he's falling farther and farther behind. Nairb has been able to push him around through the early game, and that is not a matchup that's going to get easier for the Renekton.
Kujabuja over the wall looking to stomp out those little Rek'Sai swimming pools. Being scared away by the rest of Never Clucky. Won't be scared away enough as Dragon is live for the third time this game. And if it is taken by Luckerdogs, that's going to be that 5% movement speed boost, which could be very helpful in the coming fights.
And it would be impressive for them to take this when they do have that. They have to take. Words. They are sitting on a gold lead, so they do need to be able to make that into something. Dragons are good, but 5 dragons is going to be well into the range at which Never Clucky should be able to start pulling ahead. And if Never Clucky doesn't contest the 4th dragon, they will have to contest the 5th, and they should be able to.
Fifth Dragon is something that really doesn't come online that frequently these days. Games just aren't long enough for it to usually be a thing. Teams don't focus on Dragon enough for it to be taken down quickly enough for it to come online in time for Aspect. But it might very well end up being one of those game-winning, game-losing conditions. This time around, turrets are all tied up now as the red turret falls here in the mid lane off the back of Talisman and the rest of those Never Clucky guys. Akanda forced to flash away, the binding almost connecting and spelling out certain death.
For an immobile champion like Misfortune, that loss of a flash is a big deal for the next 5 minutes. That is a long time that he has to sit around and be very, very cautious. It actually is a really slick move there. Not necessarily deliberate, but a very beneficial thing for Nevercloak. He stalls out the game even farther and makes it riskier and riskier every single time that they try and fail for this Luckerdogs team to get more.
Not only does he not have Flash, he doesn't have Flash against a Gnar, a Lux, and a Rek'Sai, and even a Tahm Kench that all do have Flash. They are going to be gunning for him. They know when that timer is. They know when Flash is going to be back up. And in these fights, Misfortune is an absolutely massive target, not just by the innate given that she is an AD carry, but by the fact that she's 6'2" and 3 with Infinity Edge Essence Reaver. This is the damage threat that they have to address, and with Flash down, it's going to be easier than ever.
For sure. And Misfortune, like you said, she is really, really fed right now. She's gotten the primary focus in CS from her team, priority on clearing those waves, so she's up over her opponent by a full 60 CS as well as those kills. And that puts her in a position to be really strong, but they haven't managed to bring her to bear it all. They don't have the engage necessary. They have the charm and the cocoon, but neither the charm nor the cocoon. Oh, I spoke too soon.
You're about to get popped, sir. The ignite is down. Here comes the Spirit Rushes. One more is going to be able to do it. Who cares about one more? Flash auto attack. More than enough. Ari finds the 1v1 pickoff. Talisman not only dies, burns both summoner spells just to find himself in the same 6-foot deep hole. Spanga looking for even more. It's Catfish on the menu as Reiju forced to walk away. Surfon nearby as well. Akanda and Kujabuja looking to chase away. Hi, I'm Nerb. Kujabuja looking for the stun. Will be able to find it. Akanda pouring the bullets into this guy. Narb with the flash forward. There's QSS. Akanda not dead yet, and Nerb will fall. Akanda godlike off the back of that one.
And he had just picked up the QSS. That was very fortunate for Akanda. Nerb almost turning that on its head. Such slick play by him, but unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about that ability to ignore your CC. Little overextended, and he pays for it.
We saw Talisman pop a QSS when he tried to get away from Spanga as well. Both these AD carries opting for that get a CC free card because of the fact that CC means death in this match.
It really does, and the AD carries are going to be such a big focus as things go on. There is the mid lane threats from both of these teams, particularly as the game goes on. Lux becomes a horrible catch-you-kill-you monster. However, the AD carries are so necessary to burn through these tanks and bring the sustained damage to get, particularly for the Luckerdogs. They have to get through a Kench and a Rek'Sai. That is a whole lot of frontline. And then there's the Gnar as well, who's no slouch in the tanky department.
28 minutes in, we're still only 3,000 gold apart. It's anybody's game, and the Luckerdogs need to be looking for those opportunities now more than ever. They've got Luden's Void Staff and Spooky Ghosts all completed on Spanga. That's a lot of pick potential. That's a lot of kill potential. Akanda with that QSS as well means they're able to fight without worrying about MF being caught out by a stray spell and getting immediately killed.
This is very stressful for both teams, I would think, at this point. Certainly, Neverclucky can feel the disadvantage they're at the moment, but Luckerdogs has to know that they can't just let it remain at status quo. They have to keep making things happen in this game. And they've been trying over and over again, and they did catch both Nerb and Talisman, which was a great moment for them. But it took them a very long time to set that up, and they got no objectives off the back of it. They need more than that.
Spooky Ghosts have been dropped. It should be noted that there are 2 different Spooky Ghosts on the side of Luckerdogs. There are 0 on the side of Clucky, and that is a very important comparison to make between these two teams as we get further and further into this game, because Spooky Ghosts can spell certain death in certain situations.
Spooky Ghosts are such a ridiculous item. I know almost everyone talks about how ridiculously OP they are, and in a lot of ways that is true. They bring so much damage, so much gold generation, and the ability to catch is so strong. but they become less and less important as the game goes on. And here comes the Kench teleport trying to stop this, but it was a little bit delayed and they lose the tier 2.
Spanga caught out and shut down. Shut down credit going to go over to Nairb, who finds his 4th kill off the back of that one. The game now a 4,000 gold game. 1 kill advantage going over to the side of the Luckerdogs as Nairb looks for even more aggro. Surfin able to find that stun up to slow him down just a little bit. Spooky Ghost will further slow down the chase efforts as Kabloomy is looking for more targets. Won't be able to find anyone. And now it's going to be Never Clucky looking for the tier 2 turret mid.
Yeah, that lack of Spooky Ghosts makes it so much harder. And Spooky Ghosts really are one of the reasons games have accelerated so much. Here's this tower's going to go down so fast, disappear, but they can't get any of those kills that they really wanted to get off of the back of that overextension by the Luckerdogs. And it's because they don't have Spooky Ghosts. It's the reason, like I was saying, why these games have been so fast. And this will be the stopping of the dragon stacking as well. But Spooky Ghosts, they make sure that you can either catch the enemy or do a bunch of extra damage to them. Either way, they're so important for that follow-up chase. Luckerdogs look like they're positioning towards the Baron, but they're kind of low level and low health for that.
Let my sup go. Fires off the laser. Nairb takes some damage. Surfon takes some of his own. Reiju down to about 40% HP. Doesn't want to go too deep on this one. Kench's job is to tank. He can't do that too well with a half-empty health bar, as now Akanda and the rest of those Luckerdogs are looking to push up.
Double Spooky Ghost popped for nothing as far as I can tell. Little bit overconfident there by the Luckerdogs, and they lose those cooldowns. Fortunately, those are very low cooldowns, only a minute on each of those.
This game is still so incredibly close, fluctuating between 3,000 and 4,000 gold in terms of advantage for the Luckerdogs at any given time. The power of Never Clucky, though, continues to scale. The Lux with Luden's Echo, Athene's Unholy Grail, now working on her next item. The only clue we have to that is an Amplifying Tome, so that could be anything. But this team is continuing to get stronger and stronger, and their range expands as the game goes on. Literally, Tristana gets more attack range. Lux is able to continue to fling those spells from more and more range as she gets more and more items and does more and more damage. And now Kuja Buja forced to teleport away to get himself away from Nairb's onslaught.
Yeah, but he is up here now where they do have a lot of pressure, and they're able to position around this Baron. Kabloomy a little bit overextended, but he gets out with one of his tunnels. This game is started out so fast and furious, and the number of kills has just dropped like a rock as Never Clucky puts themselves in a defensive position and refuses to let themselves get caught more than a couple times. But Luckerdogs going for that Baron.
Luckerdogs going for Baron, and they're going to force some action right here, right now. Baron about to fall, and there's going to be nothing Clucky can even do about it. The Baron buff goes to the Luckerdogs.
That is a big pickup for them. They were having trouble breaking these tier 2s. They managed to get one of them off of a rotation. Now they should be able to pressure another. Those Baron minions are very hard to clear. Lux is very good at clearing waves, especially if you're willing... Oh, in on Shapanga.
Nairb wants to find the kill onto this Ahri. Talisman up and over looking for the follow-up. Spanga forced to ultimate away defensively. That is definitely something that Never Clucky was looking for. They're able to force that out. That's going to severely reduce the aggro potential of the Luckerdogs until that ultimate comes back up, which is going to stop them from using this Baron to the same degree that they want to.
It's on a 52-second cooldown. I mean, that thing is going to be back really fast. And they're going to... In fact, it'll probably be back about the exact same time they start pressuring either this top or this bottom. Shapanga's cooldown more than half finished. It's so hard to catch an Ahri.
Both of these mid laners actually have ridiculously low cooldowns on their ultimates. Kujabuja going deep onto high. I'm Nairb. The flash is not going to lead to anything for the time being. Surfon looking to follow up. Won't be able to find anything. It's going to be a flash for 0. Kujabuja just expending that and not getting anything out of it.
But Talisman's top lane, this is an easy tier 2 for Luckerdogs, and they might actually be able to put down a lot of... This
might be an easy inhibitor. Kabloomy caught out. The charm is down. A very nice Lux laser returns some damage, but some damage doesn't do anything without the follow-up. Spanga expending the rest of those charges, getting some damage onto those guys. Better Call Saul pops the ultimate, keeping himself alive once again. Hi, I'm Nairb follows up with some rocks, but rocks aren't going to do the trick. Here comes Nairb, wants to find some more. Brought down immediately. Surfon able to grab the kill credit for that one. Is now Talisman runs and guns. Surfon almost taken down. Talisman now now forced to be eaten to keep himself alive. Reiju dies for his teammates' sins as Let My Sub Go falls. Talisman goes down. He's dead in the air, ladies and gentlemen. And that's going to be Luckerdogs taking down the inhibitor turret. They're taking down the inhibitor, and they've got sights set on the Nexus.
Yeah, that was a flawless ace for Luckerdogs. Never Clucky came in strong, and they played pretty good, but they got overconfident and engaged way too hard at the end there and got taken down for their trouble.
A close game, but ultimately the Luckerdogs prevail. A strong team who conquered their greatest objective in the Premier League, which is, of course, showing up on time for the game. They managed to get in here on Summoner's Rift, and when this team shows up, they show up big. Luckerdogs take the victory over one of the highest seeded teams in a lot of those power ranking threads we saw. A lot of people, myself included, were expecting to see some crazy things from Never Clucky, and of course they did play well this game. It just goes to show that there's a big difference between the competition that they faced last season in the minor league and the competition they're facing this season in premiers. They're definitely going to have to continue to improve themselves as a team if they want to stand a chance to take the crown here in the House Party 5v5 Premier League. Thank you guys for tuning in.